What I'm about to tell you is top secret. A conspiracy bigger than all of us. There's a powerful group of people out there that are secretly running the world. I'm talking about the guys no one knows about, the guys that are invisible. The top 1% of the top 1%, the guys that play God without permission.
And here it is, the greatest advance in television since color television itself. See all color shows in living color. Once you've adjusted fine-tuning for each channel.
So there we see that it means that you can subdue a people, you can control a people by secret influence. That goes on to say under charm, to subdue by secret power, especially by that which pleases and delights the mind. So under charm there it says power to subdue opposition and gain the affections. But remember in the story of Wizard of Oz, how the Wicked Witch was having difficulty subduing her opponent. And finally she said,
I know what I shall do. I take this crystal ball.
She spreads her hands across the crystal ball and she creates a lovely
Poppy field. Oh, so beautiful.
And Dorothy, the lion, the scarecrow, the tin man, going across this lovely poppy field, fall to what? Sleep. Is it possible that that's not just story? Is it possible that the crystal ball sits in the living room of every home practically in America?
Are you changing us in our society for the better? Does it empower all of us, like it claims to? Or does it only empower a select few at the expense of the many?
John Carpenter's cult classic They Live is a late 80s masterpiece. It centers on a drifter played by the immortal Roddy Piper who stumbles into an alien plot to subjugate all of humanity. Or most of it, anyway. For a film full of B-movie tropes, epic brawls, and historically badass one-liners,
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
They Live is about a surprising amount of issues, from class divides and wealth distribution to the impact of the explosion of cable TV. But central to the aliens' plot is subliminal messaging. A signal broadcast over the airwaves has brainwashed humanity. Everything in the film, from the very first fade up in the opening credits, we see how the title is buried within graffiti, a signal-to-noise ratio that becomes impossible to decipher. In the world of They Live, advertising, TV shows, even magazines are all layered over the top of bold, blunt messaging designed to keep humanity unaware and blissfully ignorant consumers while the aliens and the global elite take all the wealth for themselves.
Isn't it lovely, darling?
10 years later, Peter Weir's The Truman Show lands in the late 90s as reality television is exploding.
Good morning!
Morning!
Jim Carrey's Truman Burbank is an unwitting star of The Biggest Show, literally adopted at birth and raised on screen in an idyllic little prefab island town built on a gigantic soundstage. Like They Live, The Truman Show deals with a lot of stuff, everything from celebrity culture to privacy issues, but central to the conceit of the film is subliminal messaging.
It's a chef's pal. It's a dicer, grater, peeler all in one. Never needs sharpening, dishwasher safe.
The Truman Show's producers keep him on the island through an elaborate and inhumane series of manipulations. Things like killing off his father in a storm at sea take care of a lot of it, but the day-to-day is handled by newspaper headlines, drive-time radio, and of course, television. So both of these films feature subliminal messages, that much is obvious, but what the two films are about is the process of seeing past them, about pulling back the curtain. Narratively, for Johnny Nada, it's a pair of sunglasses that literally allow him to see through the alien signal. Johnny Nada is a drifter, already disconnected from the rest of society, therefore more objective in his view of what's happening. The world around him is being controlled, and he's starting to see it. Truman, meanwhile, is living an idyllic life until a light literally falls from the sky and he begins to question the small things about the world around him. Truman, thanks to the manufactured life he's been presented with, is dug in, emotionally and psychologically. His life is staged and we're watching him figure it out. But here's where we get to a key difference in the films. Yes, aliens are a pretty big difference, but there's one that's even more important, one that lies in how the films are shot. John Carpenter's movie is almost entirely third person. Save for the shots from inside the sunglasses, we as an audience are sitting in our usual seats, safely in the theater watching a cautionary tale about how vulnerable we are to the images that bombard us daily. The Truman Show, on the other hand, is mostly from the perspective of hidden cameras. It's largely the actual production of The Truman Show. So we as an audience find ourselves in a familiar position as well. This one is on our couch at home watching a reality TV show. This means that the bulk of The Truman Show is a first-person perspective, and that first person is us. Peter Weir's camera, particularly in the beginning of the film, puts a firm finger right on the manipulative nature of television. It literally shoves us into position so we only see what they want us to see. The Truman Show's brilliance is in mimicking a reality TV show so well the seams begin to show. The domes over the hidden cameras are obvious. We're suddenly more aware of a camera move following Truman, something we wouldn't think twice about in They Live.
Give me a close-up on his torso. Still breathing.
Both of these films are littered with prime examples of how media can influence us. John Carpenter's version takes an incredible sci-fi route where aliens teleport around the planet with us none the wiser, while Peter Weir's Truman Show makes you live inside of a beer commercial without realizing it.
That is a beer.
These movies are ultimately about the same thing, so they're certainly worth a double feature. Also, Ed Harris kinda looks like the aliens from They Live when he's wearing that hat.
I sit on a council of 13 people that take orders only from the Rothschild Tribunal in London, which they claim they take their orders directly from Lucifer.
I was the manager of Zodiac Productions, which Zodiac Productions, its name's been changed since then. I'm not even sure what they call it now, but it's the largest music conglomerate in the world. It owns RCA Records, Columbia Records, Motown Records, owns almost all the concert booking agencies in the United States. And that's not even the name of the company that owns it. The name of the company that owns it is Brenner Enterprises, and Brenner Enterprises is owned by Chase Manhattan. Chase Manhattan's owned by Standard Oil, and Standard Oil is owned by the Lords of London. You can track it on back. You kind of get the idea after a while. But I was the managing president of Zodiac Productions. It was one of my jobs as being one of these 13 people. Thus, I got to know many of the people who produce music and sing the music and play the music that you play. Now, one of the closest friends that I got during that time that I obtained was a man named David Crosby. Crosby, Still, Nash & Young. And I saw David the day before Christmas last year, talked with him. I got him away from this witch that he had with him. He told her to go shopping. We were in West Hollywood, and I was witnessing around to people I knew. We went off in this store, and we started talking. I said, David, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. I said, I already know the answers, but I've been gone for 5 years. I'd like to know if certain things are still the way they were when I left. I said, now I'll have to explain some of this when I'm done, because you're not going to understand it all unless you know something about music. I said, do they still take the master to the temple room? Dave said, yeah. I said, do they still have the coven conjure demons into the master? He said, of course. I said, now, I got to know something. What's the main reason for rock music? He said, come on, Lance, you know what the reason is. I said, please, David, I don't want to guess. Tell me what the main reason is. He says, the same as when you were in, so that we can play spells on people that we couldn't cast spells upon. I'll explain what that means in a minute. I said, okay, one last thing. I've been hearing that you must be an initiated witch now to get a record contract. He said, that's right. He says, many of us that weren't total witches have to be witches now in order to produce music. I said, thank you. The master is a tape about as big as the top of this podium that looks like an overgrown 8-track that the album is cut on, and it's placed in a machine that produces and presses the records and the 8-tracks and cassettes that you buy. After it's been recorded, it's taken in. This is why a master's cut months in advance before it's released. On the full moon, it's taken in to a temple room about the size of this auditorium that is in every one of the major music companies, behind locked doors up in the executive offices. And it's placed on an altar, sitting in the north of the room, and a pentagram engraved in the floor. And 13 hand-chosen witches and wizards and a coven come in and conjure a principality or a power up, usually Regia or something like that, and order him to tell the demons under him to follow every record and every tape coming off of that master. As I tell many Christian parents, you can go home and count your kids' records, probably yours too, and count how many demons at least are there. If that's too hard for you to believe, I'm sorry. That's why they do it. Now listen to me. This is why rock music's addicting. Have you ever seen kids that got rid of their music? They go around like this. They can't wait to find a rock station somewhere and they sneak off just like getting a cigarette or a fix because it's addicting. That's why they can't give it up. The rest of the conversation was this. You can't cast a spell on a Christian, but you can get a Christian to cast a spell on themselves. If you give the permission for the spell to work, being a Christian won't block it. And rock music is not just a song. It is supernatural music, that which is carefully designed by their spirit guides or familiar spirits in the form of spells. Now, although the devil's music's power is the music and God's music is the words, much of the songs are written in what we call witch language. Give you kind of an idea. Many of you talk on a CB, unless you know what a smoky is, and a 10-4, and a front door and back door and rocking chair and these type of things. You don't know what you're talking about. Same with witches. When you're in the first and second level, you have to learn over 2,000 words that said by anybody else mean something totally different than when you say them. Elton John has said he's never written a song or sung a song that wasn't in witch language. Now I want to show you something. See how many kids in here will be honest and adults. How many remember and have heard at least several times a song called Hotel California? Somebody tell me what it meant. Quickly, somebody tell me what it meant. Huh? That's pretty close. But from the words, what did it mean? Well, that's more of a guess. See, most people can't tell you. That's why when people do drugs and they listen to songs in which language, they get some of the meaning. But most of the time, they can't tell you. Stop and think how many songs are out there that you really like, and you don't have any idea what the person was talking about. Beyond the Yellow Brick Road? How about The Destroyer by Kiss? Can anybody tell me what it's about? Kiss said in it, kids, show your parents. They're talking about Helter Skelter. Beatles sung Helter Skelter in which language? Nobody knew what it meant. Manson did because he belongs to the process. Helter Skelter is a several thousand-year-old word. Most of the music is either about Helter Skelter or a place called the Night Winds, which is what Hotel California is about, and different doctrines of witchcraft. You listen to them, your parents let you listen to them, and they have no idea. Kiss openly bragged how they were gaining control of people through their music because the people played their music. They told how they didn't form their own group. Their church, because they were ordained ministers of the Satanist church, placed them together. And that's how most of the music is done.
Now, let's bring you back online and reboot those eyes. Ah, hello.
Hobbs.
Yes, it's been a while. I'm sure you're very confused. Maybe you were expecting to see the Duke resurrected somehow.
And you're still out here doing these songs, you know, you're still on tour.
I do, but I don't take it for granted.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
This will hurt. Overkill, are you online?
Yes.
The first thing they do is they write the script. The script is the first agenda in their propaganda and in their mission for corruption. Okay, it's the message of the script. Then they get the actors, and the actors are brainwashed over a period of time. And why is that? Because an actor will do anything they can in order to act. Most actors are very desperate. What's sad is they get a lot of children in these movies, and the children start buying the propaganda. So the next step is, now that they've kind of built their little network, they send their network out to promote the propaganda, and they release the movie, which is propaganda, into the homes of the other children, into the families And they do it by way of sending out the actors to promote the movie and talk about it on all the talk shows. So you see, it's kind of like weaving a small web, and as the web goes out, it gets larger and larger to the point where people are brainwashed over a period of, 4, 5, 6, 10 years as Hollywood builds these propaganda movie stars.